Am I the only one that is like starting to be obsessed about thinking about garden plans and our plants and wanting to be out in the garden and spring and all that kind of stuff? I came home from work this afternoon and I just popped out into the greenhouse and I was like, okay, time to film a video right now. And I don't usually film in the afternoons, but here we go. Hi, you guys. This is Nicole from My Carolina Garden. My garden is in growing zone 8B and I am in Southeastern North Carolina. It is still cold out, but I wanted to talk to you about some things that are happening in the garden right now. One of the things is I have a seed experiment going on and I wanted to share it with you. There's a very specific plant that I want to have in my garden and I'm going to try to grow it from seed, but there are mixed messages out there online about whether or not the seeds need to be cold stratified or not to succeed. So here's what I have going on. It is a Green Twister Echinacea seed. Now, the Green Twister Echinacea is so cool. The flower goes from pink to green and it just looks really pretty. Plus, I like cone flowers anyway. So I decided to go ahead and order some Green Twister Echinacea seeds. Ordered them online. I ordered from 2 different places because I really want to make sure that the seeds are going to work and you just kind of don't know. But here's what is happening. Because we don't know if they need to be cold stratified or not, I am doing 1, 2, 3 different things, I think. One of them is winter sowing. Let me show you my little winter sowing stuff out in the yard real quick. So as we leave the greenhouse, I have a couple of little plastic containers with seeds hopefully going to germinate in here. And then in my rock garden, I have more seeds tucked away in their plastic containers. So these are my Green Twister Echinacea seeds that I am winter sowing. So if you're familiar with the winter sowing method, that is where we are taking our seeds, putting it into a plastic container that we fill with dirt, and then sprinkle the seeds on top and add a little bit more soil on top of that. We're making sure our soil is wet, and then we're closing the lid on our plastic containers. So we have holes drilled in the tops and bottoms of those containers to allow for rainfall or snowfall or anything to come in through the top. And then we have holes drilled in the bottom of these containers, and that is to allow for drainage. Hoping that we have some great success growing some new things. So that is the idea behind the winter sowing method that you see my little plastic containers here and there. So the winter sowing method is one of the ways you can cold stratify your seeds. Another way you could do it is by soaking them in water for a few hours inside your house, then putting them inside a damp paper towel, putting that damp paper towel in a resealable plastic bag, and then putting it in your refrigerator. Now, another set of mixed messages I have is how long you need to refrigerate your seeds. Seems like maybe 4 weeks is about going to be right for this. So I have another experiment happening where those seeds are being refrigerated inside the house right now. After the 4 weeks is over, I'm going to go ahead and pot them up and see what happens. So that's so far 2 things. Now a third thing I'm doing is just regularly planting up the seeds inside the greenhouse. No cold stratification at all, just seeing if these seeds take. So it's a little bit of an experiment, as I said, and we're going to see what happens. People say that regular Echinacea seeds, I was just trying to see if I had the packet in here. I don't. The regular just Echinacea, purpurea, supposedly you don't need to cold stratify those. But again, mixed messages on this special variety. So we're going to see what happens with that. Besides that, so I have different seeds all started here. I have some basil, I have some coleus. I'm going to do a whole bunch of coleus because you get like 1 billion seeds in a coleus packet because they're so tiny. So I have those seeds all started here. So some winter sowing, some just regular seed starting. We're going to see what happens with that. So this is part of what my mess is looking like in here. So another thing that I have happening here is I have a pot that I need to work on and help a little bit. And we're going to do that while we're chatting in the greenhouse today. So here is the scoop with this particular pot. This pot I bought on clearance. I want to say it was almost fall, and I wanted it for some color in my office, and it worked. It was just fine. I have 3 items in this pot. They are Croton, which is here and on the other side as well, little tiny Croton plants on the sides. I have Heliconia, which is this cutie pie right in the middle. We're going to talk about each of the things separately. And then I have this Asparagus Fern that is also in here. Now, here's the problem. With an office environment that doesn't get like an extreme amount of light, things were kind of iffy. I was really using the pot in the office, like I said, to have some color in there. But the only trouble is overwintering things sometimes. You start to see a little bit of leaf loss, and the asparagus fern was really suffering from that. We had a lot of these petals turning yellow and falling to the ground. And then of course I have some little reachers over here that need to be clipped back. So those are a couple of things that I was dealing with the asparagus fern. Now I did a little research on it because I didn't have an asparagus fern before. It says that it likes bright indirect light, so that part should have been fine. And it can actually tolerate full shade as well. So I'm not really sure. I don't think maybe the lighting was the problem. Perhaps it wasn't being watered enough inside the office. That could have definitely been an issue. But it does say to prune back the yellowed stems to promote new growth. So what I'd like to do is just kind of take this pot apart, make sure I can get the asparagus fern out, put it into a different pot, and start to like re-stimulate its growth again. So I'm going to water it. I'm actually going to fertilize it as well into January now, and I'm going to be able to start moving things out of here at least April 15th. So I got about 3 months, but as this plant is growing in here, it's not outdoors, so I don't feel like I need to not fertilize. Does that make sense? It doesn't have to be dormant inside the greenhouse. I can allow it to grow and do whatever it needs to grow. So I think that's what the plan's going to be for that. Now the Heliconia, I never had that either. That is also called false bird of paradise. And it says it can be called things like lobster claw, toucan beak, wild plantain, or false bird of paradise. And all of those things together are referred to as heliconias. So that's going to be an awesome addition to my tropical garden and everything. And I have so many new shoots growing in different spots that I really want this baby to thrive. And this one right here is like a brand new bloom about to emerge. So that's really cool. So I want to make sure that happens. And then thirdly, we have the Croton. Now the Croton is cool and has the awesome colored foliage, and I have had that one before. Now, interestingly, here's another experiment to tell you about. So in case you want to propagate some Croton in your life. I had shown you a video recently where I had attempted to propagate the Croton by clipping off pieces of stem and just rooting them in soil. And the experiment really wasn't successful. I had like one little hair root that was coming out, and that was it. But one of you told me, don't give up on trying to root or propagate the Croton. Apparently, you have successfully snipped off a stem with the leaves and just went ahead and rooted it in water. And you all know that that's my favorite way to propagate, just by rooting things in water, whatever you can. But I didn't do that with the Croton. I went the soil route. So I just want you to know that sitting inside my house, I now have some clippings of the Croton that I have put into a jar of water so I can watch those roots emerge. So I will let you know if that experiment happens and if it roots that way, much easier than waiting for the soil. In the soil, it was 8 weeks that the cutting was in there, and like I said, one little tiny hair of a root, so not overly successful. This one I don't need to propagate because it's already here, but I am going to just divide it up so that I have Croton in different pots as well. Okay, so here is what we are going to do. I'm just going to water this pot to make it a little bit easier to take it all apart. And then I got to take my jacket off because while it's only, I don't know, about 40 degrees outside the greenhouse, it's more like 80 inside the greenhouse, which I know is crazy. So I got some sweet terracotta pots, and I got these for $1.99 each from Hobby Lobby, so I found that to be a pretty good deal. I am loving all the different style terracotta pots that I've been collecting lately. So we're gonna probably put the Croton in here. Now, while you typically do not see me wear gloves when I'm gardening, I actually got a splinter sent right up underneath my fingernail that I can't get out and it hurts. So I am going to be wearing gloves for this process. Didn't even change out of my work clothes for this job, which is sort of unfortunate now that I see how this little tie is going to hang. Well, we're going to see what happens. All right, so I'm going to just work from a corner because that's the easiest thing to do. And I want to know, as I'm working here, what are you guys thinking about in terms of your spring garden? Are you designing? Are you ordering seeds? I know some of you had said you've placed orders for some things that are going to be fun, and I'm wondering what they are, what you have happening. This seems to be really root bound in here. I might have to pull this whole thing out and separate it that way. Okay, so that was a little bit of an unexpected complication, and I decided I was gonna just go inside and change my clothes because I didn't realize this was gonna be so difficult to take apart. But now it allows me the chance to use my new Christmas present, which is a Hori Hori knife, and I'm super excited because I get to cut some roots with it. So, new Christmas present gets to be used. I get to help these plants thrive in some new pots. Oh my gosh, this is a good afternoon and I'm happy about it. So back to the question that I was asking, I want to know what everybody else is thinking about. Are you just daydreaming about warmer weather? Because that's also huge and I totally get that. Or are you literally drawing out plans for your garden? Like, what types of things are on your mind? Let's just see if I can tell which roots are which before I just start clipping things apart here. I don't want to take off new shoots of the fall spurt of paradise because that's really cool. Like, I definitely want that plant. Yeah, see, like, here's new shoots of that. I don't think that has to do with the Croton. So, we got a successful piece of Croton, so that's good. That will be able to go in a terracotta pot with no problem. Let's see what else we can do here. I'm also pretty excited that I'm using my new tool, let's see how these roots go, on some new plants that I never worked with before. Now, I know asparagus root is not like anything rare at all, but it's just not something that I've ever had. And it says you can have it outside as an outdoor plant, so it doesn't just have to be indoors. It's just not cold hardy. So we get frost here, so I guess it wouldn't like that too much, so I guess you'd have to overwinter it anyway. Looks like this is what the root system looks like for those guys. So I'll be able to clip these yellowed ones off, clip my little stragglers off as well, and then this guy should be in great shape too. Now comes the bigger ones, because I want to see how many, but this is amazing. I wish I had this knife before this year, but so be it. It's like butter, slicing right through here like butter. So here's what's up. Now I'm just going to work around this box of roots again and remove some more of the Croton. So this knife works in a variety of ways, but we have sharpness happening in all different ways, including the spike at the tip. So I can maneuver it around to do all sorts of cutting. Now, I just want you to know, it's slicing through here very, very easily. I'm just trying to save some of these little sprouts of roots like this so that it can turn into something. So that's why I'm just trying not to do a total hack job here. This I'm going to keep together because I'm thinking I may as well use these in an arrangement since they look cool together. So if they can grow symbiotically, I think I'll do that. They're gonna stay together somehow. So last night my camera battery ended up dying before I got to show you all of the different divisions of the pot that I have. So now I have all sorts of new goodies. So I got a Croton in a separate pot. This gets to be in a separate pot, and then a couple of things get to be put together, and then my gorgeous new tropical baby is also in multiple pots. So you know what that means. It's going to go in multiple spots in the garden for that tropical feel, probably all around the pool. So I will keep you updated as to where these things end up, if the Croton ends up rooting in water, and if my Green Twister Echinacea seeds do need to be cold stratified or not, where I have the most success with those things. Hopefully, at least it was nice to see me get my hands in the dirt if you don't get to have your hands in the dirt right now, but we're gonna get there because this is first quarter of the year, and then when it's over, it's spring. So thank you guys for watching and for all of the support. I invite you to subscribe to my channel, of course, and until next time, happy planting.